Hey everyone, and welcome back to another video where today we're going to be talking all about balance sheet ratios. Now, a word of warning up front, this is a technical video, and technical means that we are diving into the computer and we're going to be writing Python code. So if you're not into Python, this might be one for you to skip. For those that are into it though, what we're going to be doing is really cool. We're going to be talking to the IEX API and we're going to be getting back the balance sheet. We're going to be deriving different ratios that we can just type in a ticker, say Apple or Netflix, Google, you name it, type in that ticker and you get back a list of balance sheet ratios. Now this video is going to be part of a much longer series where we will eventually type in a ticker and we will get a report, a full report generated, given back to us. And it'll contain these balance sheet ratios. It'll contain a discounted cash flow valuation. It'll just be a full report right at your fingertips using the IEX API. If you're ready, I'm ready. Let's go. All right, so we are now in the computer and we are ready to take a look at some balance sheet ratios. So why these balance sheet ratios? Well, this video is going to form part of a much larger series of videos in which we will take a bunch of different things that we normally go out and look at when we're researching a company, so like balance sheet ratios, some income statement ratios, cash flow ratios, even a discounted cash flow. We're going to take all these pieces, and by the end of this series of videos, we're going to have a full stock report. So you'll be able to type in a company ticker, say Apple, and you'll get all the ratios that you want. You'll get your discounted cash flow valuation. We'll even look into some other valuations. That's all down the line though. Today we're going to be taking a look at these balance sheet ratios. So here we are in Python and let's go ahead and get started. First things first, you will see this import my token. You even see the file right there. My token is just my token. It's my IEX API token. That is a value that you should be keeping private. So in this video, I will be keeping it private. I don't want to share it with you because you could steal my credits from the IEX API, and as you know, those cost money. If you need to figure out how to get a token, you can do that. It's in the prior video. IEX has a free account. It should be able to cover most of what we do in this video, just not in huge volumes. If you have a paid account, you can query to your heart's content. So my token, I'm just going to use it like my token. That's going to give me the value of my token that we can use to query the IEX API. Next up is the Python library that we'll be using to interact with IEX. The library that I used in the first video is actually one of the very first videos I put up on this channel, but the library that I used in that video, I wasn't too happy with it. It's very rarely updated. It has a few endpoints that are missing. So in some of my personal projects, I've been having to write requests myself. That's all fine, but you really want a library that's able to take care of that for you. And so I went out and I found this other library that is much better, and it's the one that I'm converting all my personal projects to, and it's the one that we'll be using throughout this series of videos. So that library is PyEX, and if you need to install it, you can do that in the terminal with a pip install PyEX. It should tell me that I have everything I need. All should be satisfied because I installed this previously. So go ahead and clear that out. For you, it might take a minute or two just to install. And once we've got that PyEX library, what they say to do is create a client. So they call it C. I'll just stick to calling it C. And let's go ahead and create that. So you do that pyex.client with that capital C, open those parentheses, and you see the first thing it wants from us is that API token. And as I mentioned, mine is that my token.token. All right, and the other things it wants is a version and an API limit. Both of those, the defaults are fine for us. So we've got a connection now to the IEX library. All right, so the first thing we can do once we've got that connection to IEX through this library is we can query an endpoint. So company is one of the endpoints that PyEX implements, and we can do c.company, and you pass all these endpoints really a ticker. So we're going to pass Apple, and let's just print that out to see what comes back. So I'll save it, come down here. Looks like I already typed Python, but let's go balance sheet ratios and hit enter on that. And you see we get back all this company's data. So we got the symbol, we got the address, even address too. So you can see right away we can start building reports with this kind of information. You know, like we could put the big company name at the top with the ticker, and then CEO Timothy Cook down below. And we can start building really fancy reports. We'd have to figure out how to build a PDF in Python. We will get there. But you can see right away that we've at least got the data we need to start building some really cool stuff here. So we're talking all about balance sheets though. So let's change this out to balance sheets and see if we get back Apple's balance sheet data. So balance sheet is what the library uses to query that balance sheet data. We can clear that out, rerun it, and we should get back, yep, there it is. We get accounts payable, inventory, we got property, plant, and equipment. We get back Apple's balance sheet data in JSON format with one quick query. Now we can begin using that to build a report. Well, now that we know the data works, there's two things that I want to do. First off, I notice that we have sort of this enclosing first element of JSON that's wrapping this entire thing. So I'm just going to stick a square brackets and a 0 in there. In Python, that just grabs the first element. And it looks like, at least with this endpoint, we only have that one element. So that's what we're going to grab. So just real quick, I'll show you the difference. Run that again, and you'll see that we get the same thing back, just without that those enclosing square brackets. That just makes things a little easier for us querying throughout the rest of this video. The second thing I want to do is save this in a variable just so it's easier to access. BS, I mean, I guess is there, right? BS is balance sheet. So now we have this variable BS. We also have this variable C if we need anything else. And we can go ahead and start looking at some of these ratios now. All right, so the first ratio I wanted to look at is called the quick ratio. A quick ratio is really simple. It's quick, right? So actually we'll just put comments throughout so we can see what we're looking at. We'll do right here, quick ratio. And we calculate the quick ratio by taking the current assets, we minus the inventory from that, and then we divide that by the total current liabilities. So the quick ratio lets us know if a company can basically handle its current liabilities without needing to find additional financing or even sell off additional inventory. Is it just able to handle everything it owes right now? So let's go ahead and implement it. So I'm going to save these inside variables just so we can easily access them. This one we're going to do BS, which is our balance sheet. And because we put this 0 here, which again removes that outer set of parentheses, we can just go ahead and type what we need. So we need current assets. So that one is current assets. And then we minus the inventories from that. So BS and then inventory. And then we divide that by the total current liabilities. Total current liabilities. And that should get us the quick ratio of this company. So we can print quick ratio, and let's clear this out, run it again, and you'll see that Apple has a quick ratio of 1.32. So if we change this to, say, Google, just to see what theirs is, see how it differs, run that again, and you can see that Google, let's try out what's going on there. So we got an error. We'll do this live. Let's figure out what our error is. I'm going to just go back a little bit here, comment this out because the error is with this. It's likely this 0 right here. Probably don't like it. So we'll print this out, print, and let's take the 0 away just to see what's going on. And the reason I thought it was that 0 is it says list index out of range. The only place we were using a list index is right there. We put the 0. Let's go ahead and see what the issue is. So printing this out, oh, we see that Google has no data. So maybe it wants that ticker. All right, so it wants the Google ticker for Google. So if it wants the Google ticker, that's fine. We can put back that 0. How do we know that the data is all coming back the same? So we'll remove that, put that back. It wants Google. And we'll uncomment this so we can use it again. Print that out, and we see that Google has this ratio, much bigger than Apple's. But now here's the thing, Apple obviously carries inventory, it sells a lot of hardware, it sells phones, tablets, MacBooks. Google doesn't sell a ton of phones, tablets, MacBooks. Their big ticket item is Google Search, which is just software. So So if we compared Google, instead of comparing Google to Apple, let's compare Google to, I don't know, another software company like Salesforce, CRM, and let's see, so CRM is down there low as well. So Google just looks really good on this quick ratio. So to make things a little easier, how about instead of just doing this typing in of a symbol each time, we actually ask you, the user, what symbol we're looking for? And this would be, quite a stepping stone, at least to building a full report generator. And so you can get the symbol quite easily. You can just say symbol equals input in Python, and then you just answer the question. So like enter the ticker. There we go. And now we can just use symbol right there. And this should now, every time we type, it should ask us to enter the ticker. So we can enter Apple, we get that back. We can do it again. We can enter, now let's enter Zoom, and we get that back. There we go. That's a lot better. So we've got the quick ratio. We know what that is. Another balance sheet ratio that I wanted to add to this is the current ratio. Much like the quick ratio, it is very simple, and it also gives us an idea of whether a company's assets cover its liabilities. So I prefer the quick ratio over the current ratio, but because we don't need to calculate all these by hand, because they're going to be in our final report once all these videos are done, we might as well just throw it in there. Just it's something additional to look at. It's another tool in the arsenal of, is this a good company? So this one is current assets, and it's going to be current assets divided by total current liabilities, which is right there. Actually don't need these parentheses, so we'll get rid of those. Current assets divided by total current liabilities is going to be our current ratio. So there's the current ratio. We can print that out just to see it. Print current ratio, and so let's try that out. And we'll go with a stock ticker of, can't keep using Apple, let's use Ford. So Ford has a current ratio of 0.71, and that means that its assets are less than its total current liabilities. That's not really good. That's somewhat of a red flag. Would want to look into that. You prefer this to be more than one. You want the current assets to cover the current liabilities. All right, so the next one up is going to be long-term debt to equity, so debt to equity ratios. You can do long-term debt, you can do short-term debt, you can do total debt. I like to do long-term debt, and the reason for that is just, I feel like we're covering most of the current debt, the short-term stuff in these ratios. So I like to look at that long-term stuff, the stuff that they got to pay back, over many years. So we'll just call this one long-term debt, equity, and that one's going to be equal to balance sheet. We need that debt, so that's going to be long-term debt. And we're going to divide that by the shareholder equity, which is under shareholder equity. All right, print that out. I'm fast running out of tickers that are in the front of my mind while recording. Let's go with something like Teladoc. So Teladoc has a long-term debt to equity ratio of 0.42. That's all right. That means that their debt is lower than their equity. That's what we want to see. If we did the same thing for a company like Ford that we just saw, it's bigger. Oh, so that's two red flags on Ford. Let's try out a different one. Let's try out AT&T. Not too bad. It's up there. Much better than Ford, but not ideal. It's creeping towards one. Finally, the last one. This one is a pretty lengthy one, at least in terms of the formula. It's going to be long-term debt. Long-term debt to invested, well, as a percentage of invested capital. So this one is just giving us an idea of the leverage, really. Like, is this company using a lot of debt to bolster its balance sheet, to bolster its revenues? Yeah, it's just like all these other ratios. It doesn't tell the whole story, it tells part of the story. And it's something that you really should keep track of, monitor, see if they're using a lot of additional leverage. Using a lot of additional leverage when it's cheap, like now, that could be a good thing. But if debt becomes expensive, you don't want an over-leveraged company using expensive debt to bolster its revenues, then come crashing down, right? So let's calculate this one. Well, first off, we need invested capital. Now, invested capital is going to be your shareholder equity, and I will spare you the typing because we've typed a lot of these out. So this is going to be shareholder equity, And then we're going to add in total liabilities. That says current, but I want all the liabilities. So we've got shareholder equity plus all the liabilities. From that, we're going to remove the current liabilities. So we're really just looking at the total long-term ones. We're removing the current ones, and then we're going to remove the cash. So that's current cash. So this gets us an invested capital value. And then we can calculate the long-term debt as a percentage of invested capital by just doing, we'll do long-term debt IC is equal to, we need that long-term debt right there. And then we can just hit it with that percent of invested capital. And that should get us what we need. Long-term debt IC, need to print it, print. Save that. I see that we've got one printed here, so let me remove that, save, and use this. Apple, let's go ahead and do Netflix. You see, now we've got these 4 different values. We can put them in a sort of report. So let's just up here, finish this. I'm going to finish this video out by putting these things in a report that looks a little nicer. So you can do something like a print, and we'll just do equals times 64. It gives us a nice little barrier there, and we'll do print. We want name. We'll do the ticker inside, and then just call it a report. So for this, we'll need our company back. Company is equal to c.company, and then we want that symbol. All right, and then from here, we just need to fix that string. So first one's going to be the company, and then we want company name. Second thing in there is going to be that company, and we'll do a symbol. Then we can separate these things up by just a print, and then we'll do that times 64. That way it gives us a nice little separator. See how that looks so far. All right, so we got Apple report. It's already looking good. All right, so we got Apple report. Yeah, it's already looking good. Now we can, maybe down at the bottom, we can print all those different values in there now. So we'll do a quick ratio, and then we'll do a %F for that because it is do a %F for that just because it is a number. So we'll do a quick ratio, and we can do current ratio, %F. Yeah, this is too much typing. I'm going to fast forward real quick. We're just going to fill out the rest of those values. So be back in a minute. All right, we're back. I did the quick ratio, current ratio, we got long-term debt to equity. I put the invested capital in there. It's not one of our ratios, but it's something that we would want in our final report. And then we've got long-term debt to invested capital right there as well. Ended it out with this print equals times 64 again. Same thing we started with. And that just gets it looking nice, like a little report. So we can enter Apple, and we get back our nice little neat report. We did it. So it's not beautiful, right? It's not going to change the world. We're not going to become the next Warren Buffett overnight. But I do like that we now have at least a foundation from which we can continue building these different reports from. Yeah, this is great. I just tried out real quick with a different company. We'll try Netflix again, and we get this little Netflix report. They capitalize the F. Is that the real name? I don't know, but we get this Netflix report back. We can do it with any company that IEX covers, which is pretty much any company you can think of. And yeah, in future videos, we're going to go back into this file, or probably a different file, and we're going to add to it. So we'll do like stuff like cash flows, or we'll do that discounted cash flow as well, to give us a valuation on this company. So if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe to the channel. We'll be doing a lot more videos like this in the future. I'm going to aim for at least once every 2 weeks getting a Python video up there. So I do hope you enjoyed it. Like, subscribe, comment what you want to see in this report in the future, and I will see you next time. Have a good one.